Good morning, Salon. We come to you from the Society for Radio Democracy 98.1 FM. As you get from, we talk to the Minister for Basic and Senior Secondary Education. Well, for Sekadata, one for welcome the Minister, we now Conrad Saki. Good morning and welcome to the program. Good morning, Salon.
Good morning to all manner 98.1. Good morning to our listeners and compliments of the season.
Thank you very much. Same to you. And earlier we don't introduce the Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Timothy Kabba. We deal with at the studio for can talk about different things that we don't happen na the ministry. Well, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, they for create an effective and efficient diplomatic setup for Salon for implement government program and the activity then promotes international peace and Salon foreign policy, among other things. Then, waiting on the happen at this sector, make we get Minister at the studio. Once again, good morning and welcome to the program. Good morning, Salon.
Good morning, 98.1. Good morning, people of Sierra Leone. Like you rightly say, the foreign policy of Sierra Leone is actually the declarative of Chapter 11, Section 10 of the Sierra Leone Constitution, entirely a Leone state for promote and protect the interest of Sierra Leone and also the sub-region interest and, of course, the inter-African cooperation and unity. And also as a country for forge relationship with other nations within the context of mutual respect, shared values and interest, and also for respect international treaties and also for promote peace and security in the country, the sub-region, and in the world as a whole.
So are we don't turn like since we see President Bill Second be appointed as the Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation? Are we don't turn like since he take up office?
It's interesting. The five I just don't take over a very important office in the country, which is the office we're responsible for the foreign policy and the international relationship what country they get with other countries and institutions and multilateral institutions. A work we don't start a very long time, but in the past 5 years under President Bio in dispensation, Sierra Leone seemed to don't come back from Usai Binde to a more recognized international participation in multilateral institutions and also increasing diplomatic footprint in terms of diplomatic relationship with countries and organizations. And you see the historic election where Sierra Leone won a non-permanent seat at the UN Security Council in June this year. A country where come on a little over 2 decades ago, come on from a civil conflict, get an overwhelming victory for become one of the 3 countries representing Africa at the UN Security Council with a vote of 188 of 193 participating countries. Shows Sierra Leone don't really take care of in international reputation for which nations of this world respect and call onto a huge global responsibility like occupying one of those enviable seats in the UN Security Council.
Now, when you talk about the issue of the country, one thing then they point at now the issue of wage bill, and then you always say the expansion of the wage bill, including foreign embassies and so on and so forth. As the Minister for Foreign Affairs, for listeners and viewers of Democracy Radio, you can take me through almost foreign embassies them Salon get, including embassies and high commissions across the world.
Absolutely, it's quite interesting. We live in a more globalized and interconnected world today, where it means no man is an island. Even in 1961, after we get to independence, Sierra Leone played a very important role in international relations and diplomacy. And so it is not new. And therefore, for consider what in Salon they spend in terms of in international cooperation, in diplomacy, in terms of having embassies and missions around the world, for criticize the amount used. I mean, it's we have to understand what it means for exist in this challenging world today. The world is so challenging that you cannot sit in Sierra Leone and expect yourself to navigate through the many challenges of the world. And therefore, as a member of the global village, you get to be visible, you get to participate, you get to promote your national interest, you get to protect your national interest. And it is in pursuit of that particular objective that I make with the open embassies all over the world. And in total, we get, in terms of embassy and high commissions, we get about 26, which is really, really small. It's one of the smallest, Sierra Leone as a nation get one of the smallest representations in terms of bilateral representation to other countries in the world. So whatever we spend as a fraction of our economy, I agree, it's substantial, but with the fact that it is very important, almost indispensable for making us spend on diplomacy, because it is actually one of the very reasons why it exists as a nation state. The sovereignty. Your sovereignty will always be realized when you participate in the international space for promote and protect your own interest.
Okay. So, in recent time, we don't see the ministry don't sign agreements, memorandum of understanding with other nations. Then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very important for you engage any nation. You don't forget a starting point, and that starting point is first to establish the connaissance. Say, we don't want to forget diplomatic relation. And the reason why we don't get that diplomatic relation is because you feel, say, that partner nation, they will not get the same common interest and will not get mutual respect for each other, and you won't forget a footprint in their country, then you won't forget a footprint in your country. For Leone engender that sort of relationship, they can start with a framework agreement where they spell out, in clear terms, how we want to expand the relation economically, politically, and culturally or socially, if you like. And so it is very important, like I said, at the starting point for establishing a diplomatic relationship. If you realize, say, at the start of this particular term, we don't get framework agreement with some countries that will know one day get framework agreement with, for instance, Saudi Arabia, when His Excellency the President visited Saudi Arabia in October, I suppose, for the Saudi African Investment Conference. You see, we signed a framework agreement with Saudi Arabia. That and the commencement of a deepened bilateral relation with Saudi Arabia, especially in the realm of economic diplomacy, where means say Sierra Leone will now continue for work with Saudi Arabia for investment in infrastructure, in education, in agriculture, as all of these are components of the President in 5 game changer priorities. So that's make we can sign agreement there. We also get a similar agreement with Morocco, where we just don't complete. And all this to show that Sierra Leone is expanding its bilateral relation in terms of economic and political and social.
Talking about bilateral relations, Salon lately been start discussion of embassy establishments in Jerusalem. What's in the happen with this conversation?
I have to say that Sierra Leone get desire for open embassy in the state of Israel, and the capital city of Israel is Tel Aviv. And when that happens, the embassy is going to be situated in Tel Aviv. I heard, of course, rumors of that flying, but that did not. Of course, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is responsible for the articulation and promotion of Sierra Leone foreign policy. And in no way did that come from Foreign Affairs that we were going to open an embassy in Jerusalem. We have the desire to open an embassy in Israel. A conversation was held between His Excellency the President and the Foreign Minister of Israel, Minister Cohen, on the pretext that if Sierra Leone open in foreign mission now Israel, it will be inside Tel Aviv as the capital city.
So the discussion about you having an embassy or planning to establish an embassy in Jerusalem, not to be through even there among some government officials.
These days, it's very difficult for you authenticate the veracity of information with the pass on the internet. And I'm speaking to you as a representative of the president on foreign policy. And I want you to believe that anytime a country opens an embassy in a country, it is open in the capital city of that embassy. Then can get consulates in other cities of the existing country. So in this case, get it from me categorically that if Sierra Leone is going to have an embassy in Israel, it's going to be situated in Tel Aviv.
For somebody who don't know the rules and responsibility of embassies, what are the rules and responsibility?
An embassy is the representation of a country in another country. And the embassy is led by the head of the mission, and in some cases by ambassadors. In countries where they're part of the Commonwealth of Nations, now High Commissioner, that they become the mission head of the embassy. And the embassy, they function like the country, they promote the interest and protect the interests of the citizens and of the country where the embassy they represent, now the host country.
So the issue we just discussed, Salon having the plan to establish an embassy in Israel, we not still hold on to that plan?
Well, it's a planning. Planning is a process. You have to look at very many factors in terms of preparation for you do that. Israel is an existing state. Sierra Leone is an existing state. There is desire for the establishment of an embassy in Israel. In due course, when we're ready for that, we'll do it.
Looking at the tension with the other part of the world and other region, the Salon still get the desire for establishing an embassy.
Everybody is absolutely frustrated and disappointed by the circumstances where they prevail between the Israel and Palestine situation. And Sierra Leone in principle position that we support the inalienable right of people for exist, and that is why Sierra Leone position that there should be a two-state solution. At the end of the day, we say they get clear-cut borders between Israel and Palestine, and for the two countries then for live in peace and harmony and for development. Nonetheless, this is an unfortunate situation, but absolutely the conflict will come to an end and peace go reign, and then two countries go exist. And Sierra Leone, as a player in the international space, we forget relationship with everybody.
Continue for stay with me inside the program. When we come back, we continue for do with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation and Salon Foreign Policy, the promote abroad. In the Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. The program na Good Morning Saloni, the country from 98.1 FM. I be done they talk about the role of the foreign affairs and what we don't they do so far. People then they follow national issues. Gonna say June this year, Salon being win. Sit na the Security Council where they go occupy 1st January or January 2024. How Salon prepare for take part in this, and what it mean for Salon for the Security Council?
I mean, it's very important. Sierra Leone, after 10 years of independence in 1971, Sierra Leone gets for occupy for the first time a seat in the UN Security Council, where in fact that very year, incidentally, Sierra Leone starts a deepened bilateral relationship with China. It was under the presidency of Sierra Leone in 1971, where China replaced Taiwan at the permanent category of the United Nations Security Council for become one of the permanent members under the presidency of Sierra Leone. 53 years on, Sierra Leone don't come back very stoutly at the UN Security Council as a non-permanent member. What does they mean? It means Sierra Leone as a country they stand very tall internationally, and with the overwhelming support of 188 votes, now a reflection of the strengthened foreign policy of Sierra Leone under the leadership of His Excellency Brigadier Retired Julius Maada Bio. And what does this mean? It means in Africa, now only 3 countries at a time they represent Africa at the UN Security Council. And Sierra Leone, now the one AU approved candidate, one of the 2 AU approved candidates in this time, we get that overwhelming support and go to the non-permanent category, with Ghana and Gabon exiting. Sierra Leone and Algeria, they enter for join Mozambique. So there are 3 countries representing Africa, and this means in the UN Security Council, over 70% of the issues where the world premier peace and security organization at the Council, UN Council, Security Council, it means Sierra Leone and these 2 other African countries that therefore they articulate, promote, and protect African interests in the Council, bearing in mind that over 70% of the decisions and resolutions that are taken in the UN Security Council get for do with Africa. And so that representation is to talk for Africa, peace and security, and for global security.
For somebody where they listen now go ask, or perhaps go ask, if Salon a member of the Security Council, and so what? How important it is?
It's very important. I mean, if you are participating in international diplomacy and you're not part of the world, and you get that distinct and significant honor for being selected as one of the leaders of the continent, for represent the continent and be a voice for the continent. Now, the world, a most important peace and security organization, I think that is a very, very significant showcase of how Sierra Leone is important globally. And coming back to, like I said, Sierra Leone is not only in the UN Security Council. For over 18 years, Sierra Leone done the push as coordinator of the 10 heads of states, then where African Union be elect for make them pursue a reform of the UN Security Council. Sierra Leone get that honor for coordinate the effort of the African Union for make sure say Africa get more representation in the non-permanent category and representation in the permanent category because of the many issues where the council they deal with, we get for do with Africa. And Sierra Leone in particular, for the experience we get from our own civil conflict, and I think we now showcase with leadership in the UN Security Council for pursue contemporaneous matters like climate change, food insecurity, global conflict, violence, conflict in the world, terrorism, discrimination and inequality, cyber threat, and all of those. So Sierra Leone therefore play a key role with the other two A3 members, I mean Mozambique and Algeria, for represent Africa for push global peace and security. So it is important for Sierra Leone as a leader, one of the leaders in Africa for pursue international peace and security.
The program now, Good Morning Salute, they come to you from 98.1 FM. You listen to the Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. We come to you shortly. We'll go for a short break inside the program Good Morning Salon.
You listen to now Good Morning Salon, and they come to you from Radio Democracy 98.1 FM and from New Englandville studio. Back to you, Mr. Minister, as we done the talk about the UN Security Council. What's the number of airway salon gets for day at the UN Security Council?
In very significant 2 years. In the non-permanent category of the UN Security Council, they elect members them for 2 years. And Sierra Leone, in your tenure, in effect, they begin on the 1st of January and they end on the 31st of January 2025. Earlier on, Mr. Kamara asked what significance would that be to Sierra Leone and to Africa. I think it's very important. Yesterday, there was a landmark resolution at the UN Security Council where, since 1981, Africa don't they ask for let the UN Security Council divulge specific peacekeeping rights to the African Union in terms of resources and logistics for lay Africans and would deal with African problems. And yesterday, after well over 40 years, and the three members that right now are Ghana, Gabon, and Mozambique, then being pushed this resolution with Sierra Leone co-sponsor, we led yesterday to the passing of the resolution where they make the UN Security Council, and then they contribute now about 70% to the African peacekeeping effort, and the remaining 25% coming from other sources in Africa for make we get peacekeeping enforcement. We know the trouble where they right now globally, but Africa gets in a unique situation. We don't see the recent uptick in the unconstitutional grab of power in Africa. We don't see how terrorist activities are not intensifying at the Sahel countries. We don't see how climate change they affect African countries. We are one of the most vulnerable continents in the world, and especially Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is among one of the 20 most vulnerable nations to the impact of climate change. So these are all issues that are very important for make Sierra Leone join other voices in the Security Council, for ask for the developed world, for make them go consider the plight of Africa in terms of contribution to climate mitigation and prevention, and in terms of also asking the one day they pollute the world, for make themselves will get a check on the rate of polluting the world so that the world will live in a very secure, peaceful and stable world. And so it is very important that Sierra Leone to go to the UN Security Council at this difficult time for show leadership on behalf of Africa and the world in general.
So after the 2 years where Salon go then at this Security Council, then go re-elect Salon back again?
Well, it's yes, of course. As long as Sierra Leone remain for be part of the United Nations, it will always be a candidate in the long run for also run for the seat. But like I say, Sierra Leone is making an effort for coordinate the African common position for make the UN Security Council go be expanded and make them make a more democratic by having the representation at the permanent category and for increase the number of countries where they go in at the non-permanent category. By so doing, Sierra Leone will get a sooner chance as well for able run for seats that they don't permanent category.
Now, Salon they take a seat at a time when Africa is threatened by coups, and Yusuf don't mention, especially in the sub-region, ECOWAS countries, them plenty coups, them, and even Salon taking seats at the Security Council being threatened by coup. Who say they start from in representing Africa interest and also negotiating and talking about democratic elected governance or governments for staying at power? What's when I go begin?
No other form of government nor be an ideal substitute for democracy. The chair of the Authority of Heads of State of ECOWAS, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, after they elect him, make a categorical statement, say ECOWAS will not tolerate any unconstitutional grab of power within ECOWAS. And so that is why you see, even domestically, the unfortunate and dastardly act of the one then way being come for orchestrate that coup d'etat. You see the next day ECOWAS come and in very strong terms and with a high-powered delegation condemn the attempted coup where happened in Sierra Leone. And that's go for show you say ECOWAS is now determined not only to forestall the unscrupulous intentions of people who want to bring chaos in West African countries, but also for standby democracies in West Africa for make sure say they sustain. And Sierra Leone has always been heralded as one of the most peaceful and progressive democracies in the sub-region. The test of the 26th of November, an awakening call to ECOWAS for show the breadth of fragility of the sub-region. But despite the fact that we get that we own unfortunate situation in Sierra Leone still remain for be very important in ECOWAS in pursuing constitutional order in then countries here. For instance, President Bio and President Foy of Togo then unanimously select them in this past 64th summit of the heads of state of ECOWAS for make them serve as mediators for the transition in Niger, for instance, and taking into cognizance the unique experiences of President Bio. ECOWAS approached President Bio and said they want to make President Bio be one of the lead mediators for bring back Niger to constitutional order. Also, we see the role of President Bio play initially when the takeover was in Guinea. He went there and met with the military, and he's also playing a very key role in the transition process in Guinea. So ECOWAS is determined, and President Bio, as an example of a good ECOWAS leader, is also determined to work with the chair of the Authority of Heads of State, President Tinubu, for make sure say democracy prevail, democracy sustained within the West African sub-region.
Continue for stay with we in Timothy Kabba, Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. They talk about Salon position at the Security Council. We come back to you with a look at the deployment of ECOWAS standby force now Salon, within the status of that negotiation day or discussion. The program Good Morning Salon, they continue to come to what as the guest Minister for Basic and Senior Secondary